Hello. So, we are back for another gaming session, and this time it is not Chrono Trigger, and it's not going to be an 18-hour-long epic multi-part thing this time, so don't worry. This time we have Road Blasters, specifically the Sega Genesis version. We'll just play a little bit of it, maybe 1 or 2 rounds, go for, say, a high score, and then see if I can beat that high score. But yeah, this is a game I have a pretty strong history with. So I'll probably talk about that a bit as we go. So yeah, we'll hit the button here and get started. So this is a car combat game, I guess you could say. It's kind of racing, car combat. It's kind of in between those genres. 1987 by Atari was the original arcade version. It's come out on a number of systems. The NES had a version, which is probably the version I played the most overall. There's obviously this Genesis version. There's, I think, an Atari Lynx version. And then there is the... Sorry. Come on, start. Then there's the arcade version itself, which is reissued on a few compilations, notably the Midway Arcade Treasures disc for PlayStation 2, and I think that was on a few other things also. Great compilation, by the way. If you have a PS2, definitely get Midway Arcade Treasures. Yeah, again, NES is probably the version I've played the most over the years overall. This Genesis version of the home ports is probably the closest to the original arcade. It misses a couple of things, notably the voice in between levels. And since I'm talking, I'm kind of sucking here, so we'll give it a few rounds, probably. It also doesn't have the day-to-night light transition in the backgrounds. It does kind of change the colors of the foregrounds in this version. But overall, this is pretty close to the arcade version, this Genesis port. As far as what we're doing, obviously we're just trying to get to the end of the track, but you don't have to worry about laps or anything like that, and really don't even have to worry about lives in a sense. You can blow up as many times as you want. However, the car you're driving, as cool as it looks, has 2 major flaws. First, as we just saw a couple of times, as I kind of lapsed in my attention, kind of a light touch will cause this thing to explode. Secondly, it guzzles gas. So that's kind of the main crux of the game, is getting to the end of the track by before the time that your gas runs out. You have the main tank, which is refilled at the end of each stage, and then you have a reserve tank, which fills depending on your score in the... so here we're getting some reserve gas. So the higher the score you get during the track, the more extra reserve tank gas you get. So yeah, that's the crux of the game. As far as my history of it, they used to have the stand-up, the Atari One system stand-up arcade version of this, and Pizza Hut in Catskill, and I played it all the time when I went there growing up. Every time we went there, I had to put some quarters into Road Blasters. So I've always said that if I could have one arcade game, and I'm really sucking here, obviously, but I've always said if I could have one stand-up arcade cabinet, the first one I would want to get, maybe the only one I would ever get, would be Road Blasters, just for that nostalgic value. And I actually sent an email. I found one listed just this past weekend from a company not terribly far away in Massachusetts. And I sent them an email, and unfortunately it had already been sold, so I didn't get it. But, you know, if the opportunity presents itself to get a Road Blasters arcade, I fully intend to do so. There's a few other games after that I would want, you know, maybe if I could get a second arcade cabinet, maybe Rampart would be another top choice, but yeah, Road Blasters will be number 1. You want to be as accurate as possible with your shots, because you can see in the lower left you have a multiplier. If you miss a shot, it detracts from your multiplier, but if you connect with shots continuously, your multiplier will go up to eventually 10. So each of your each time you score a hit, you get 10 times the point value of whatever you're shooting. So ideally, you want to be as accurate as possible, get the multiplier up to 10x, and then you'll get the most reserve gas at the end of the round, and then you'll have that much more of a chance of getting through the next track, because generally speaking, the amount of gas you start with for each track gets less and less as you go on. There's 50 levels in all. The arcade version basically had as many lives as you had quarters. The Genesis version, and I think the NES version was the same. You had 4 lives, so you could run out of gas 4 times without the game ending. But yeah, the arcade version, it was, as I recall, it was just however many quarters you had. So yeah, another big memory connected to this game. This is actually 10 years ago, 2014. Me and my buddy went to wrestling at the Mid-Hudson in Poughkeepsie. It was Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore promotion, and it was during that window where AJ Styles, he'd left TNA and he was working in Ring of Honor and in New Japan, and he was actually, at the time of the show, was the current New Japan, the IWGP World Champion. So Tommy Dreamer got him for House of Hardcore number 4 at the Mid-Hudson in 2014. And you could do the whole deal. When you meet people at these shows, usually they'll have a price for, getting an autographed picture, getting your picture taken with them, and usually you can get a combo price where it's like $10 off to do both. And usually I just get the autographed 8x10, as a collectible. I have a binder full of them. They're fun, and I'm not always a fan of myself in pictures. So I have some photos with wrestlers and wrestling people, but usually I tend to opt for just the autograph. But with AJ Styles, I did both. I did the combo. So, I get the autograph and just the usual small talk. Yeah, I've been following you for years and all of that. And I'm, again, sucking since I'm talking. So I'll do a more serious run after I tell this story. But anyway, usual small talk, I've been following you for years. Then it was time to take the picture, so I hand my camera, or my phone rather, to it was probably just whoever was taking the money for AJ. And this was in the ring. They actually had Styles, and I think somebody else set up in the ring during the signings, and everybody else was like kind of around the perimeter of the arena. But yeah, we go to take the picture, and at the time I had an iPhone. It was probably still my iPhone 4 or 5, one of the older iPhones. And at the time I had a silicone case for it that looked like an original Game Boy, and as you may be aware, Styles is kind of known off camera as a big gamer. So he sees the Game Boy thing on my phone when the guy holds it up to take the picture, and he says, "Oh man, that's awesome. Where'd you get that?" And we just get to talking about video games for like the next probably 6-7 minutes, which was kind of surreal because the IWGP World Title belt was sitting on the table just being completely ignored, and like he's telling me he bought the Play Choice 10 recently at that time for his home arcade. And then I brought up the story about, if I could get one arcade game, it would be Road Blasters, and that's because of the whole thing where it was in Pizza Hut when I was a kid. And anyway, just a cool memory. I doubt he remembers it, but yeah, just a cool thing to take with you as far as stories about interactions with wrestling people go. And of course, Styles, one of the greats of the last 20 years. Just wrestled for the title against Cody Rhodes last weekend. Probably nearing the end of his career, it sounds like, but he's had a great run for sure. So yeah, that's my AJ Styles Road Blasters story. Anyway, so yeah, after this run, we're running out of gas here. Well, we actually got to the end of that track. So yeah, after this run runs out of lives, we'll do 1 or 2 more, a little more serious. As far as the enemies, the yellow cars are kind of your standard enemy, and sometimes they actually will drop red fuel loads. The green fuel loads that you pick up, they add a little bit of gas to your main tank, just ran right into that bike. The red ones actually have more than the green ones. The green ones are just kind of placed at fixed locations on the tracks, whereas the that's a cruise missile. Whereas the red ones drop from the yellow cars occasionally when you shoot them. You also have that plane that flies over periodically that gives you special weapons. And I'm going to stick with the cruise missile. I don't know what the second one on this track is. Guess it doesn't matter anyway. We're almost at the end. Can we get there? Oh, just on fumes. Got into that end zone. Didn't get a whole lot of reserve, though, so we'll probably get game over on this next track. The blue cars, the sedans, I think they're called command cars, those you can't destroy with your normal weapon. So you have to either avoid them, or if you have the cruise missile or the electro shield, you can take them out with those. And then the motorcycles and the rat jeeps are just kind of annoyances. They have different patterns that they move than the yellow cars. Those turrets along the side of the road are annoying too. So we got the UZ cannon. This is like a rapid fire. The disadvantage with using the UZ cannon is that it doesn't count towards your multiplier, but if you have your multiplier maxed already, you still get the 10 times scores by using it. So if you can get your multiplier up and then use the UZ cannon as your rapid fire, yeah, we're gonna crash out here. Oh, we still have 2 lives. Did I get an extra? I thought maybe I only did lose 2 so far. I thought I lost 3. Yeah, I haven't played any version of this in a while, and I'm obviously kinda sucking here. But again, after this run, I'll try to talk less, and we'll do a more serious run for a high score. The NES version, incidentally, it doesn't look nearly as good, but it still plays pretty well. So the NES version is actually, like, that's the version I had at home as a kid. And, you know, when it's all you have, it's certainly better than no Road Blasters at all. Yeah, we're gonna run out, I guess. The big disadvantage with crashing, again, you don't lose lives by crashing out, but it takes you a little bit longer to get up to speed when you are starting from a dead stop after you crash, and that'll burn up a lot of your gas on you. So you still want to avoid crashing, even though you have, at least in that regard, infinite lives. Yeah, do a little bit better here. Oh, that turret got me just as I crossed the checkpoint. When you cross the checkpoint in the middle of the level, you get your main tank refilled to whatever level it started with. Car there. The backgrounds were always good in this. Again, in the arcade version, they have a day to night transition with the backgrounds, which I think the NES version actually did have. But again, they didn't look as good on the NES version. In this version, they don't change the backgrounds for time of day. But they do kind of change the foreground area to kind of simulate it, I guess. So yeah, that's the end of the first run. So my actual, you know, if I put my score into an actual arcade machine anymore, my handle is GLC, or of course George Louis Costanza. Yeah, that's what I often use for my handle nowadays. I actually don't know what the difference between normal and practice mode is, but we'll try it on medium this time. Start at the level 1, Bubble City. So yeah, you can, like, you know, spam your main gun to, you know, be safe as far as shooting what's ahead of you, but that will also keep your multiplier down at like 1 if you're not hitting things continuously. So you actually tend to want to be more conservative with your shots to get the multiplier up, and that way you get more reserve gas at the end of the stage. Ah. Yeah, those roadside turrets kinda suck. In the arcade version, there's a voice for this where it would say, "Shoot opponents for score." But overall, this is, again, pretty close to the arcade. Like, the car, your car, looks pretty much identical to the arcade version in this Genesis version. Now, of course, the big advantage with the arcade version, too, is that it actually had a steering wheel. You weren't using a D-pad like you are on this. And the steering wheel had, like, triggers and stuff on it. It was almost ahead of its time, because, now real cars have, audio buttons and cruise control and stuff right on the steering wheel. But, yeah, that had, like, triggers. I think it had triggers behind the wheel for the main gun, and I think it had a button, like a thumb button on the top for your, special weapons. And it also had a pedal, and there were 2 versions. There was a stand-up version, which is the one I'm nostalgic for. That's what Pizza Hut had. And then there was a sit-down version also, which I don't think I've ever played that. I don't think I've ever seen the sit-down version in the wild, but, it had a chair, and it was supposed to make you feel like you were really sitting in the car. But the stand-up version still had the steering wheel and the pedal, and again, that's the version I knew, and version I would like to get at some point, And it was actually an Atari, I think it was Arcade System 1, was the cabinet they used, which was actually an interchangeable cabinet, kind of predating, like, the arcade Neo Geo, where you could actually swap out the games fairly easily. So, Road Blasters, I think Marble Madness, maybe Indiana Jones, all use the same hardware, and you could just swap out the PCB board and the control panel on this arcade cabinet and turn it into other games. So this is like the second. I think it's every 3 stages, changes the background and the theme. So this is the forest zone, which I think this background does look better in the arcade version. It's, more of a mountain scene. So we have the nitro injector, so if I don't blow up on these cars, we have a straightaway there, so we'll hit that nitro. Get our speed boost while we can use it. Ah, missed that shot, but still avoided him. Kind of, probably shouldn't have used the nitro boost there, going into that sharp turn, but it worked. Let's hit our nitro right out of the gate. Get up to 300 miles an hour. It's probably safe, right? Got the UC cannon again. Ah. Theoretically, the UZ cannon is also good to use against those motorcycles, because they're smaller targets than the cars. Narrowly avoided that command car. The red fuel globe. And the red fuel globe. You can hear the music for the goal line already starting as I get blown up. So again, there's 50 levels in total, 50 rallies. Hi, Adrian. Oh, I missed that red fuel globe, just barely. Got that one. Oh. Checkpoint. That saved us that time. Yeah, towards the end of some of the sets of levels, it gets real stingy with your starting gas. Ah. Come on. I can hear the music starting for the goal, but couldn't quite get to it. No, that's our first life down anyway. If we do get to the end, since we have our multiplier up to 10, we should be able to get some decent reserve gas after this rally. Oh, that was a near miss. Occasionally they throw mines at you, and in later levels there's like floating mines, and there's sometimes rocks in the road. Yeah, I think we're gonna get it. I hear the music. Got a few fuel globes and blew up right before the finish line. And it counted it for us. It didn't actually make us drive over it. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, reserve tank looks like a little more than 2/3 or 3/4 full. This is a cool background. I forget what this set is called. This set of levels. It's not the Desert Zone. Desert Zone is the third choice on the stage select at the beginning, but I think that's actually later. I kind of forget what this set is called. And eventually there's like Weapons Factory, there's Ground Zero, that has like nuclear plants in the background. Already on a reserve tank. Can we get to the checkpoint? Come on. Get blown up again. Checkpoint. There we go. There we go. Unfortunately, the checkpoint does not refill your reserve tank. Oh, fuel globes. Get 'em. Got a couple, anyway. Ah. Ah. Missed a fuel globe and a special weapon on that one. Alright. Try that. Try this one again. Oil slicks just kind of spin you around, and temporarily you can't shoot when you're spinning if you hit one of those. Got the cruise missile. That's good. The cruise missile basically wipes the whole screen for a time. I think it even destroys mines. Unfortunately, it does destroy fuel globes also. But you don't have the danger of hitting an obstacle when you use the cruise missile, so clear our way to the goal line. There we go. I think we're gonna fill it, just about anyway. So that was actually a good run after the first the first life lost on it. Perfect start. I guess they use E-cannon. It's the most common special weapon. Which again is just a rapid fire, and it doesn't increase or decrease your multiplier. But when you have your multiplier high already, it still gives you the bonus. So, oh. I was gonna say, I think we're gonna get through this one no problem, but we did hit the... ran into a turret at the end. I don't know if I've ever run into one of those turrets before. Off a reserve tank. Oh, and ran right directly into a mine, of course. There's a few courses that have mines like the whole way. This may or may not be one of them. So you do have a mine, like, warning light. And yeah, that did go off, so I guess it's not the whole way. Put them, like, right in, all the way across the road there. So it's not a forgiving game by any stretch. Our nitro boost. See if we can get through these guys. Didn't even get a chance to use it. Red fuel flow will be nice right about now. A couple green ones. Can we... No! Oh, come on. Let us have that one. Alright, so this is... I think this is our last life for this run. Checkpoint. There we go. Didn't want to burn too much of my reserve. There were actually a line of Road Blasters Matchbox cars. They're kind of expensive as Matchbox cars go, if you look for them now, at least, you know, eBay prices. But they were kind of cool, but they didn't really look a whole lot like any of the cars in the game itself. A little more. Yeah, there's another car, I forget what it was called, but I have it on a shelf over there, not packaged, but there was a Hot Wheels car that wasn't Road Blasters branded or anything, but it's like a black car with red trim. It's like a color reversal of the car from this, and it has a big gun turret like the UZ cannon on the top, so it actually looks enough like a Road Blasters car that I put that on a, you know, a game room shelf. All the same. That one row of mines, you want to go all the way to the right. But yeah, I don't have any of the official, from the 80s, the Road Blasters official Matchboxes. And I think they were Matchbox, not Hot Wheels, which is kind of odd because usually Matchbox was the more realistic cars, and Hot Wheels was the more fantasy-type ones, traditionally. I think I think the Road Blasters cars were like regular cars that they just put an extra, that they actually just put like extra accessories on. Like I think the main car was like a Dodge Charger Matchbox that they already had the mold for. Half a reserve tank. I'm still on this background. I guess it's, maybe it's not every 3, maybe some of them have more than 3 stages. Didn't let me have that red globe. Yeah, that's it. Let's do one more, at least. I don't know, because looking at the clock, it's only 28 minutes. I know I said it would be a shorter video, but still. An arcade classic handle there. Yeah, so we'll keep it on medium. Let's try this run starting on the desert region. So stage 11 was the start of the desert region, so if I'd gotten through that last rally, we would have seen this. So this is kind of a continue, I guess, in a sense. Oh, perfect. And that stage select screen, that was actually in the arcade version too. You could start on later levels. And that. Doing good so far. It seems like, to me, a lot of times, for each set of levels, it'll obviously get harder and harder, but then it kind of resets the difficulty a little bit. Like it dials it back for the first level on the next background. and then kind of builds up again. Oh, I hear the music. Ah, got it. Again, on fumes. Not much of we didn't get the multiplier up too high on that one. Yeah, I don't really know why they call this the desert region. It still has trees. And the, I don't know, like that looks like a factory or something in the background. So this stage, I think, is the introduction of the rat jeeps, which basically they zoom ahead of you and then, like, they basically brake check you. They zoom ahead of you and then slow down in your lane. They're not, I actually think the motorcycles are more of a pain, but the rat jeeps can keep you on your toes. You have to kind of make sure you shoot them at the right time. And here they come again. Got our UZ cannon. That's good to use on the turrets too, actually. I see the checkpoint up ahead. I'm sure there are probably playthroughs of this by, you know, expert level Road Blasters players that, you know, actually get through the whole game. I'm just having fun, but I haven't played this in a long time, so I'm definitely not in practice by any stretch on this. Lost that UZ cannon before I could even use it. I think the NES version might be a little easier overall, too. Again, maybe that's just the fact that I played that probably the most overall talking, but yeah, I do remember being able to get further in that than a rock there. I hear the music. I don't think we're going to get to it, though. Yeah, they start the gold line music, as I'm sure you noticed. They start that, like, when you're down the road from it, just to tease you, basically. I was about to say, this run on this rally is going better than the previous one, but as I say that, I get blown up by a turret, and then I get brake checked by a rat jeep. We're gonna make it. Ah. Checkpoint just in time. Game over. Let's try one more round just for funsies. And do another arcade classic handle here. I remember seeing, you know, as a kid, you'd see games where, like, it was always ass sacks. All of those. Start on the beginning. Alright, so let's get serious here. tab. Hide. I think Adrian just sabotaged me. Didn't know she was there until she talked. You can actually blow up those roadside turrets, but they're hard to hit, so it's usually not worth trying to hit them. Great music in this. I'm actually most nostalgic, I think, for probably the NES version's music, which is fine. That was, NES version was published by Mindscape, which were not exactly known for a great run in the NES era, but the Road Blasters conversion they put out was good. I don't remember who. I think it might have been Beam Software did the development on the NES version. This version was developed by Sterling Silver Software, and I don't really know what else they've done. Beam Software, who did the NES version's development, again, had a mixed record as well, but they did have some good stuff. And I'd put the Road Blasters conversion among them. Doesn't look as good again, but it's, you know, for the NES, it's a perfectly good version of the game. Yeah, Beam also did Nightshade, which is a pretty interesting game. I think they did the Three Stooges too, didn't they? Which, again, that's a game with a mixed reputation, but I actually am a defender of the Three Stooges game on NES. Yeah, I don't know what else Sterling Silver, who did this Genesis version, I don't know what else they've done offhand. And then the arcade version, of course, was Atari. Again, Mindscape published the NES version, so it is licensed. Tengen published the Genesis version, which again is effectively Atari, under a different name, Tengen. They notably did unlicensed games for the most part on the NES. The first 3 releases were actually licensed, but then they reissued those and put out more games unlicensed on the NES, but they did have a license from Sega. So, get that nitro at the beginning of this rally. This is a good way to use the UZ cam. I actually did hit that roadside turret. It kind of helps you clear the way faster, and you still get, when you have the multiplier maxed, as I do at the moment, you still get the bonus points. After this run's over, I think we'll call it for today. At least on camera. Kinda getting into this, though. I might play it more on my own after I'm done recording. See if I could get a red fuel globe out of it, but it was not to be. Ah. riffs going better on this track. So we're getting a lot of... Oh, I missed that one. But we've been getting a lot of red fuel globes. There we go. I don't think anybody's done, like, you know, cover versions of songs from this. This would be a good game to mine for music if you're musically inclined enough to do so. Oh, damn. Ooh, that was a good move. That was not. Ah, missed it. I think we got it. Okay. That was a pretty decent run on that track. It's very easy in this for one mistake to kind of pile up into multiple mistakes. I think we can make it on fumes. There we go. That's that line of mines across the road that got me on the first run, too. I wonder if there's a decent steering wheel you could get for PlayStation 2 to use the arcade version on Midway Arcade Treasures. That might be a good way to get the arcade experience. Yeah, I mentioned it in passing already, but Midway Arcade Treasures is a really fantastic compilation on PS2. I think it's on, it might be on GameCube too. Maybe Xbox One, I don't know. I have the PS2 version at any rate. But yeah, that has Road Blasters, it has, I think what's on there? It has Rampage, I think Rampart is on it. Yeah, it's banger after banger, basically. thought maybe we could get over the goal line with the nitro boost. Not quite. Beginner's trap. There we go. Barely made it to the checkpoint, but we don't have any refuel reserved tank left. So I think this is going to be it for this run, and I think we'll end the video here. Yeah. Alright, so there you have it. Road Blasters, Sega Genesis version. Great game. Yeah, I think I will probably play this a little more. I have to go paint a door right now, but I will probably play this some more later today or tomorrow after work, something like that. So yeah, that run we didn't get. We actually got higher than the first run when I was talking the whole time. So we beat the GLC run. We didn't get quite as high as the AS run, and I'm not counting the Sex run because a lot of that is just bonus starting points for starting on the desert level, stage 11. So I'm not really counting that one. So yeah, since we're gonna sign off, just call that one ZZZ, and yeah, there it is. Great game, great version. Someday I'll get that arcade stand up. I thought I might have a chance. It was a moonshot, but thought I might have had a chance this past week. It's not to be, but someday I'll track one down. But yeah. Anyway, that's Road Blasters. This is Dan's DanPlays games. DanPlays, I guess we just call it now. Yeah. Have a good one. Thanks for joining. Hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you with something else sometime soon. See ya.